Christ. Arise from the dead.
Read the Bible, you'll find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
That is I, B.J. Edwards. George Washington, in his farewell address, cautioned that without religion and morality, with the former supporting the latter, via natural laws and other things, the courts of justice become a sham because oaths cannot be trusted. Property, reputation, and life will not be protected. We've got a judgment problem in America today, a couple of them. Got a judge problem, and we're going to have a judgment problem. We better get things straightened out pretty quick. You're about to listen to 2 hours of opinion and entertainment supplied by Last Call Radio, where we light a single candle rather than curse the darkness. If you want to curse the darkness, you want to listen to this. We're not doctors, lawyers, politicians, professional journalists, nor do either of us hold a doctorate degree in anything. Not that that would make any difference, of course, our opinion. We only ask that you as an individual and or corporately not take our statements or those that we voice from others personal, nor do we recommend that you act on this as if they are facts, although they might very well be just that, facts. Again, our opinion. You're not required to listen to, act on, or repeat anything you hear today, and that any information or opinion we present is meant for the good of the order and by no means intended to harm or threaten anyone. Whoa. The courts are running wild. Lawfare. This is absolutely what we deserve. If you put yourself in a position where something bad can happen, something bad can happen. We elected a president, not a judge or judges. We elected a president. And we're going to talk about that this morning with regards to the president and judges and what's happening. And this has been going on with this president for quite some time now. Hour number 2, we hope to have Jake Lang on. I talked to him yesterday. He said he could make it in. He's running for a vacancy created by our newest Secretary of State. And looking forward to that conversation. Folks, let me get into some, by the way, I love this. Our Natural Family Month is coming up here shortly, Mother's Day. My son-in-law asked my wife and I if we'd like to get involved in the NCAA brackets as a family. Oh, gambling. No. Good thing. Okay. It's a participation thing. We ain't going to make a whole lot of money on this. Number one, we're not going to win it. My wife and I don't know anything about NCAA basketball. And taking a look at our list and what happened yesterday and Friday and Thursday, we really don't know that much. But anyway, it's a good thing we can do together and we can talk about, as versus the president. Things like this are important to the family, doing things together, family meals. We are missing out on so much. We've been separated by our children, thanks to government-run schools, thanks to politicians. And we have an opportunity to turn that around. We have to turn that around because as goes the family, so goes the nation. All right, you asked for it. How about some headlines? Let's do this. The largest COVID vaccine safety study ever conducted on 99 million individuals confirms the injections are not safe for human use. The education department is failing, and Trump has a right to shut it down, which he did. With an asterisk, yes. Attorney General Pam Bondi cracks down on what? Kentucky governor vetoes DEI ban. Kennedy files released. I was listening to Roger Stone in an interview last night. Look at it. I don't think we're going to know anything more. I think the files are going to satisfy everybody who believes every theory that's out there, because they have that template and they're going to put in the information. It's so vague and so distant that they'll put what they need into their template and prove their point.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah. That seems to be an American pastime. The Dems reported pivot on trans issues will be a brutal transition. I don't know, folks. This form of child abuse that we're doing here, this transitioning, Satan loves this too much to let it go. It's too destructive. Watching another video, is that all you do, BJ? Well, a lot of it. A trans was being interviewed. And then we had a gentleman on our program, Jeff, whose son was in Texas. Twin sons are in Texas. Mama decided one of them was going to be a girl. And I think she's already sterilized one of the children. Folks, that's heartbreaking. That is absolutely heartbreaking. Who are we? Seriously, as a nation, who are we? That's just a part of what we're doing in terms of child abuse. Wow. Hopefully they do pivot on it, but there's going to be a lot of damage before then. More defensive violence on Tesla dealerships, while Chris Hayes defends Hamas to Chuck Schumer. I quite some time ago on our program, I talked about progressive being racial arsonist. That apparently there's that arsony doesn't just stop with racial. Progressive pyromaniacs, I think, is the term I used. Wow. How about some good news? Okay. You asked for it. Here we go. Oh, yeah. The Bidens went back in. Come on down. Yeah. Come on down. Panic hits Democrats as Trump goes after their money and infrastructure. Supreme Court strikes down New York law allowing non-citizens to vote. Why did that even become an issue? How does that even become an issue? John Roberts is responsible for the High Court's delegitimation. How do you say that? Delegitimization. Delitigize. Okay. We'll talk a little bit about that this morning, because that's one of the possible solutions to this judge issue we got going on. Dems report pivot on trans issues. Read that. Taliban releases American prisoner George Gleesman, an airline mechanic from Atlanta, is the third American detained to be released by the Taliban since January. He was seized by the Taliban's intelligence services in December 2022 and was designated by the U.S. government as wrongfully detained the following year. 66 years old. Wow. Here's something that we really need to take into consideration. And I'm probably going to do reminders of you. We have to address this within the family, within the community, with the county, the state, and the federal government. Whoever is taking control of this, has control of this. And I'm talking about artificial intelligence. Nearly 100% headline of cancer identified by new AI, easily outperforming doctors. Go for it, right? We have that positive there. Boston Dynamics shows off another major leap in humanoid mobility. They can make a trans machine. Trans is a big word these days. Do a flip. Did a backflip. Tesla approved to give robotaxi rides in California. Should AI become conscious? I want you to think about what we're talking about here. Really, this is crazy stuff. My wife and I were coming home from dinner last night, and we see the cameras on the poles, the light poles. And the state of Ohio and some other states have done digital implants in highways so those taxis can take us to and fro. And the information they have on us, once they get that digital currency, especially, that'll be a control factor. And yes, it has to come with this. They'll do it for health reasons, right? Or for the kids, if we let them. Remember, light the candle or curse the darkness. I'm trying to get ahead of the game here for you folks. You need to start talking to people about this. We need to have a discussion as versus let the technology define where we are and where we go. We need to have that discussion beforehand. Tech bots do not have a soul, nor are they born with a software package that tells them right from wrong. And God only knows what kind of software package the inventors are going to put in these things. Can AI therapists solve your mental health problems? Ooh, wow. House moves to impeach at least 5 judges. Interesting. Speaking of judges, and we're going to get into that conversation. I don't know whether our guest has climbed in there or not. No, he didn't make it this morning. Oh, well, we'll have to do it ourselves. Judge not. Listen to this. A judge mandates prison to return inmates, male prisoners, to return trans inmates to female prisons. Judge blocks Dodge from Social Security data. Judge says Trump administration's response on deportations woefully insufficient. Judge blocks deportation of Georgetown researcher accused of Hamas ties. Are you seeing a trend here? Judge says Trump may face consequences for deporting gang members. I wonder if Judge Roberts is going to chastise him for threatening the president. By the way, the judiciary does not have an enforcement arm. Just saying. Judge who is running the White House. Anyway, we said that Joe Biden was not running the White House when he was in office, and now appears that our newest president is being run by judges. And Elon Musk, of course, right? We're in some very, very, very interesting time, folks. Courting the justice system. Let's have that discussion this morning. We need to talk about what we're facing. And what it is we can do about it. I'm gonna have some probable solutions. I want to hear some of yours. Put it in the comment section if you need to.
There's been some discussion about rather the president could close all the federal courts other than the Supreme Court. Constitutionally, I think that only the Supreme Court is the court. So shutting down all the federal courts, I don't know. Is there like just one federal court in each state? I don't know how many federal judges there are.
I'm not. Hang on a second. We'll bring you got any comments on that?
Well, yeah, there's over 600 of the federal judges. I watched Mark Levin last weekend. He had on Newt Gingrich. Y'all very familiar with him, who's very intelligent. He says that the Congress can get rid of the Supreme Court.
Well,
Well,
I don't buy that one.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's constitutional.
Well, he was quoting a lot of, he's very, very knowledgeable of history and, of our country. I was very surprised at that, but
I kind of look at that like the Kennedy files, that he has this template.
And
he's fitting information into that template that fits there and throws out everything else that doesn't. That's how I would look at that. Because 3 branches of government. Was that not established? I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but was that not established, constitutional lawyer, in the beginning? Don't we have a judicial, an executive, and then Congress?
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not into that.
One of the things they've talked about is that Congress can quit funding these district judges.
That they can do. Yes, that they can do. Yeah, that's one option.
But I don't know that would get rid of them, because George Soros would fund them, pay them.
How many?
It's over 600. That's what I heard this week.
Congress
600 federal courts.
Yeah, the district federal judges.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so we have possible solution number one. Well, I'll get rid of Supreme Court. That just doesn't. I'm going to put that down as a possibility, but not a probability. Anyway, let's talk about it after the breaks. Hang in there. We'll keep you on, Norm, and let's have that discussion. BJ Edwards, along with Mr. Anderson, this is your last call. Judging. Oh, judge not, lest you be judged. Look out. Look out.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Norm, hang in there with us. This week, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg, an Obama appointee, unsuccessfully ordered planes deported from Trinidad Agra, I'm having trouble this morning, gang members to be stopped in midair and returned to the United States. A ruling so outrageous that Representative Brandon Gill, Republican Texas, introduced articles of impeachment. Let me write that down. Articles of impeachment. Number 3. Impeachment. Okay. A ruling so outrageous that President has led broader calls to impeach radical left lunatic. Morning.
Oops. Good morning. We're back.
I was the only one who was asleep here this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, John.
I wasn't supposed to hit that key.
In response to that impeachment request, John Robert sharply responded that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. I wonder if our American founders would agree. The judge is one snowflake in an avalanche of judicial activists waging lawfare against President Trump. At least 46 judicial opinions have enjoined the 47th president's actions as of March. 46. According to the New York Times, U.S. District Judge Anna Reyes, a Biden appointee who identifies as LGBTQ, overturned Trump's executive order to preserve military readiness by disallowing most people who identify as transgender from joining. U.S. District Judge Lauren King, a Biden appointee, prevented Trump from shielding minors from transgender surgery, claiming his executive order violated the Fifth Amendment. U.S. District Judge Amir Ali, a Biden appointee, ordered the Trump administration to pay USAID a guaranteed $2 billion. U.S. District Judge Julia Rubin, a Biden appointee, forced taxpayers to keep funding Department of Education grants funding DEI programs. Another judge, a Clinton appointee, San Francisco, reinstated 24,000 fired federal employees at the behest of public sector labor unions. Another judge, U.S. District Judge, Biden appointee, halted Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. Another judge, Biden appointee, stopped the Trump administration from extending grants that promote DEI extremism and transgender ideology. Another judge, a Biden appointee, insisted the United States cannot stop admitting illegal immigrants who abuse asylum status by posing as refugees. The New Yorker summarized bluntly, judges are blocking his agenda and call it legal resistance 2.0. What do you think about all that, folks? Yeah.
It's
Well,
absurd. Just how does a judge make a decision? How does he enforce that decision if the executive branch is the enforcer of the judge's decision?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I got that twisted around, but isn't that right? Isn't the executive branch sort of like the police?
Yeah. Two problems here, and I'll let you in, Norm. Two problems here. Number one, we don't know the difference between right and wrong as a nation. Okay. And number two, we don't know our Constitution. And because
if we do, we don't follow it.
Yeah. Because of that, what Washington said is true. We're being our freedoms are being threatened because we're allowing judges to operate outside of the Constitution and outside of morals. Where's the church?
there you go. Now you're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Let me. I know we don't like to do this, but I want to read something out of the Bible. Okay. Judges chapter 2, and I refer to this all the time. What was going on here is God had told his people there was people in the land that was worshiping false gods.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what God said, and God said, and you shall make no covenant with the inhabitants of this land. You shall break down their altars. In other words, you go in and stop their sin. But you have not obeyed my voice. What is this you have done? So now I say, I will not drive them out before you, and they shall become thorns in your sides, and they will become a snare to you. And that's exactly where we're at. We've let things go, and we've not stood up. The church has stayed silent and let this grow. And so anytime you allow sin to continue, it's always going to go to extremes, and it's always going to multiply, and it's always going to affect other areas. Now, back to the judges, the problem I have with impeaching them over because we don't like their decisions, if Democrats ever get back in power,
Yes.
you know, then that's what they're going to do. I think what we're going to see happen, I think Congress is going to step in here and say, that they cannot rule outside of their district, for one, and that they cannot be overriding, what the president does. And I think the Supreme Court's going to have to jump in here too. And so, but yeah, it's back on the Christians. That's where it started. When we eliminated our instruction manual back in the 60s, we've been downhill ever since.
Yep. I was one of those that was trying to get rid of the instruction manual.
Right.
Yeah. Let's just ignore it. Just for me. Just for me.
And of course, see, judges go back to the beginning of when the government was formed in the book of Deuteronomy. In chapter 1, verse 13, we see the formation of government, and right after that, and just a few verses following, we see judges appointed, and they are all judges are under the authority of God, and they're going to have a rude awakening one day, and that day is called Judgment Day, if they don't before, because they are supposed to be ministers of God and administer justice. And again, there's several warnings in the Bible about perverting justice and taking bribes and not ruling justly.
Yeah, anything goes. We are an amoral and unjust society, and those two are tied in together. I've been saying it, and George Washington said it better than I did a long, long time ago. Yeah, I know. A white male Christian. I get it. That's a problem. Sorry, but he might have been right. I know. Actually, he was right. He was right. So we're going to become a nation of judges. Interesting. Monarchs and despots of old ruled their subjects by the code of Rex Lex. The king is the law. Then Lex Rex, the Constitution, the law is king. And now what we're looking at is Ledex Rex et Lex. All that means is the judge is the king and the law. And these judges have all been educated in our indoctrination centers.
Right. Well, the Supreme Court has done more to destroy this country than any president.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
with rulings of, you know, no Bible, no prayer, you know, abortion, same-sex marriage. Yeah.
Yep.
They're destroying us. And
You're going back to
we're
the
letting it happen.
60s, aren't you?
Yeah.
How is it that when the Supreme Court makes a ruling and it's not making law, it's unconstitutional, right? The Supreme Court cannot make laws. It interprets the laws.
Yeah.
And when they made that ruling, let's go back to 73, when they supposedly legalized abortion.
Right.
They made an opinion, and who took the torch and started the fire, you know, of making abortion now a legal thing?
Yeah. Amen.
Was it the people? Was it the church? We just went and complied with that because some judge said so?
Supreme Court legalized contraception in 1965. Innocent enough, right? Come on. Contraception. What's the problem with that? But that didn't work.
Infidelity.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, it didn't work because we had pornography. So the court legalized pornography in 1969 to make sure that we could continue doing what we're doing. And then that obviously didn't work. So then we had abortion in 1973, okay, and homosexuality in 2003, and homosexual marriage in 2015, and transgender. Dear God, every time I hear and see something like that happening, I just think about, look at it as a nation, the United States majors in child abuse. Pick a flavor. Educational systems. They teach children that they're victims, that they're helpless, especially if they come from a certain demographic, and you have to depend on the government. Because, you know, white folks like George Washington, men, especially if they're Christian, well, they stay up nights trying to find ways to harm you. Yeah. That's why old BJ doesn't get any sleep, okay? Because there's so much to do. There's so many people hurt and so little time. But why am I worried about it? I mean, the doctors are already taking care of what I should be thinking about doing, right? They're imagining new ways. And then when they run out of ideas, we're going to have AI take over. And, you know, it's easy for that to do because we're amoral and they're amoral. So it's a perfect fit. Just sit back, have your faded adult beverage, and be fed what you need to be fed. You may not even have to watch the TV. They just might be able to do that electronically. Oh, yeah, they're probably already doing that already. I love conspiracy theories. I love them. That's another thing, too, man. Going with the conspiracy theory stuff. That's a challenge. That's a challenge. Especially, well, I'm not going to get into that. When we come back, I'm going to make some friends. When we come back, Ben Johnson, who, by the way, is from Ohio, wrote an article, and I kind of want to take off on that article. And it's something that Norm brought up, but that Ben has a different opinion of that. So when we come back, we're going to talk about impeaching 600 federal judges. How about impeaching Supreme Court justices? Demoting John Roberts, replacing him.
Growing up in this movement from 14 on, I watched children be seduced and lured in with drugs, alcohol, material things, video games, jewelry, money, anything. And then they're used up, they're passed around, they're profited off of, and then when they're no more good, they're just tossed out like garbage. And then they become the ones who grow up and start recruiting, molesting children.
I think that anyone can do what they want in life. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. If you want to be a drag queen and your parents don't let you, you need new parents. If you want to be a drag queen and your friends don't let you, you need new friends.
Yes, some parents are upset with the way that the schools are teaching sex ed and they're taking their students out of the classroom. Good evening.
That's what it's all about. It's about the children. It's always been about the children. If they don't get them in the womb and with abortion, then they're going to get them as children right after they come out of the womb. Massachusetts, they were teaching third graders about oral and anal sex. This movement infiltrates and brainwashes children. It grooms children.
I am a school teacher, currently teaching kindergarten. Oh, I'm also a drag performer. Named Facelift. So Drag Queen Story Time, it's just a wonderful time for me to be able to bring my love of working with kids with my performance. I've always been very sort of creative and dramatic. I don't know, there's just something that's kind of magical in the transformation. I know I'm still me. Ultimately, my kids, they influence a lot of the style of how Faye has evolved over the last 10 years. The music that I choose, the sort of brightness of the colors of the costumes I wear. So if anything, the kids have inspired her more than I would say anything else.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
That's so sad. And I'm not talking about what those individuals are doing, but I'm talking about you and I sitting back and letting it happen. That's what's sad. We can control this. And don't you think it's not affecting you? If you have children, grandchildren, you're an aunt, you're an uncle, you're a cousin, your loved ones are being mentally raped, especially the young ones.
You need new parents.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we'll get AI to take care of that for us. That's already in the works. Yeah,
it is.
Okay.
Like that video I showed a while back about the robots
having babies.
Oh my goodness.
We brave new world, folks.
Yeah.
Brave new world. It's we're on the precipice of that, and we can stop it. And the reason I think we can't stop it is God has not stepped in and done what he needs to do to us. And we need a butt kicking like you can't imagine. There is no excuse. You have no excuse. You know what's going on. You know what's happening there. And looking the other way, there's a saying that what one generation accepts, the next will promote.
Right.
What you're allowing to happen is going to be promoted. And as they're promoting it, the perversion gets worse. Can it get worse than transgenderism? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Satan has a great imagination. And he's working on that portion of a man that just wants to help him out. And folks, we're here. We're here. I'm not here to complain today. I'm here to advise you what's going on and tell you need to get in the game. This week, in addition to watching all those videos, I talked to a local city manager. I also wrote a state representative, and I contacted my federal senator, and I attended a Tea Party meeting. And I wrote several emails to other folks trying to generate some activity. Get them to do something. Look at when I go to school board meetings or to city council meetings, sometimes even to Tea Party meetings, It's like nobody shows up. Does that mean nobody cares? Does that mean nobody knows? How could you not know what's going on? You're sitting in front of Fox News or you're sitting in front of CNN and you're seeing and hearing and watching what's happening. Not to do is to do, folks. This is do radio. We're going to have you doing those push-ups and those setups and those chin-ups and doing the dashes. And then we're going to plug you into the game. We're going to encourage you to start your own team. And we need a lot of them. I don't know. I don't know how all this works out. I'm not doing this for any kind of a trophy. I'm doing this because 38 years ago, I was a very, very successful businessman. I was at the top. I was earning as much money as I wanted to, working as much as I wanted to, and just sitting back and enjoying myself. And then I got bit by the righteous bug. And the business went to heck. I ended up working for a company, and the company started doing their gay pride celebration. I have a degree in business administration. I have decades of experience in business, especially in human resources. The company I went to work for, I started at the bottom rung. Customer service. And I ended up being a resolution expert in that company. There were positions in that organization that I was a fit for. Several of them. But before I tell you what happened to those positions, the second year I was there, they decided to do a celebration. This was a medical care company. Celebration for Gay Pride Month. Right in the middle of the cafeteria where you eat lunch. So dummy me, I expressed my concern about that. And as a healthcare provider, how could you be promoting that kind of behavior?
Still ask that question.
Yeah. And I went to director of human resources, went to my boss first. I expressed my concern. My boss agreed with me and said, do whatever you want to do. I'm behind you. So I went to the human resources director. They're the one that put that out there. I went to my manager's manager, my manager's manager, my manager's manager, the VP of operations. By the way, I forgot. I spoke to a VP of Costco this week about their DEI programs. Very interesting conversation. And then they finally let me have a 15-minute interview with the VP of operations of the company I was working for. And then I think the remaining 3 or 4 years that I worked for the company, I interviewed for over 60 positions. A couple in human resources. I was a bullseye fit for them. You know how many offers I got, don't you? Yeah, that's right. This white Christian male, can't have him in our organization, especially in any kind of a management role. Not going to happen. There was one manager that expressed his concern about how they were treating me. He was at a VP level. He was at a VP level. 6 months later, he was no longer with the company. Don't tell me that this isn't happening and that people are being discriminated against. Yeah, they are. The most discriminated people in America, if not the world, are the white male Christians. Especially if there's a certain age bracket, but that doesn't make any difference. You're white male and you're Christian, you're going to be discriminated against. Which is very telling in that we just talked about we have a nation here that doesn't have morals. And Washington tied the Bible, religion, into morals. And when he was talking about religion, by the way, he was talking about Christianity. That's what he was talking about. That's what this nation was founded on. You shouldn't be embarrassed that you're defending the Constitution, because that's exactly what you're defending, the Constitution. The Constitution is the law of the land. In law, there is the letter of the law, the Constitution, and the spirit of the law, which all these judges are breaking left and right. They could give a hoot less about the spirit of the law. Go ahead, I've been yakking.
Well, again, this is going to go back to the failure of the church and the family. You were doing what you were supposed to do when you worked for that company.
Yes, sir.
And the church has failed in the area that, see, God knew most people wouldn't go to church. So God had a little different plan. God's plan was to send the church to the people. And so his people are supposed to be in the different workplaces making a difference. And
Yes.
if you had enough of God's people in these places, they would have put a stop to it. But when you put one in with 10,000 or 1,000, again, they're going to treat them just like they did you. So again, we're back to the failure of the church. And another problem that we've got too, that all this is going on, the Christians don't have the relationship with God that they need, because it takes that relationship to develop discernment so that you can see that all this stuff is wrong. And that's why so many Christians are going along with it. And I watched that little video you sent out. Was it Matt Walsh?
Yes.
And, talking about, about the church and the failure of the church. And it's just, it's weak. And he talked about the churches that had the gay flags in them. And I didn't know that, but I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, we've got a gay church here in Western Kentucky, that they have their gay preacher and, the whole bit. So we're a mess.
Well, yeah, but that's an opportunity.
It is.
Do we have that video, Mr.?
Wish that I could say we were asleep at the wheel, because if you fall asleep at the wheel, it's not necessarily your fault. That's something that happens accidentally. I think it's worse than that. I think it was a deliberate choice. It was a surrender. It was a waving the white flag. And so to answer your question and to bring it to kind of the point of this great event, that I think, there are a lot of answers to the question of how it got this deep in our institutions. But to me, the number one answer is that there is one institution that is supposed to be there as the vanguard against this kind of evil. And that institution refused to do its job, and that is the church. Now, I can, again, think back to 2016, 2017, 2020, 2021, being out there kind of in the field on this issue, fighting this issue out, whether it's going to the school board meetings or holding rallies or doing anything. For me, it's making a movie, just using whatever resources were at my disposal to fight back. And I would look to the left of me and look to the right of me, and what I noticed is that I noticed what was missing, which is that there were not a lot of Christian leaders standing there beside me. I was more likely to look over to my side and see a liberal feminist standing with me on this issue than a Christian pastor. And not only that, but it was in fact worse, that very often if a Christian pastor were to say anything to me or about me in relation to this issue, it was to condemn me for being too rude, for being too mean. They didn't like the way that I approached it. And my answer to them was always, okay, you don't like my approach. What's your alternative? Because your approach is nothing. Your approach is to say nothing at all. And I agree with something you said, Charlie, earlier about, we talk about the woke churches that have the rainbow flags and everything outside, and that's a big problem. That is an issue. That's not the biggest problem. Like those churches, they're not churches. They don't count. I don't even, that's not real. If if you have a rainbow in your church, it better be a part of some art display that references Noah's Ark. Because the rainbow flag is anathema. It is heresy. And any church that flies it is not a church. It is, this is or I should say it's a church, but not for the Christian religion. For the LGBT cult is what it is. So there's that. So like there's those kinds of churches, and that's not real. Those are not real Christian churches. The bigger problem has been for a long time, the kind of milquetoast, lukewarm, I don't really want to get involved. And so you sit in these churches and you're not going to hear anything necessarily objectionable. You're not going to hear anything said that's wrong. Everything said is maybe true, but it's what's not being said.
Careful there, Matt. You won't get ahead of God. I think we're going to take a break. Go ahead.
Well, I found that video interesting with Charlie Kirk sitting there. He didn't seem to have a word to say, but Matt was talking to Charlie. Charlie has compromised on some of the people that he's been supporting politically. I wish I had more data on that, but I suggest that people take a look at, their own backyard, I guess. I don't know, but
on balance, I hear you, Kevin. But on balance, I like what Charlie Kirk is doing. Especially the young folks that he's dealing with, are definitely out there and active. I don't think they're being affected by Charlie's lack of Christian perfection, and they are out doing, and they are a blessing. But yeah, I would like to see, when I see him holding a cup from a certain coffee place, it annoys me. I mean, you're like promoting that place. Stop it. But I'll take what I can get with Charlie, and I'm sure people would probably say that, although it's not true, I'm not perfect. I know, but people will say that. People will say that, and I'm not doing everything the way I should be doing it. Yeah, okay, I get that, but I'm doing it and I'm learning. And that, by the way, that folks, that is one of the things that you're really missing out on. You have no idea how good you are and how much you have to offer because you're not out there engaged. You're going to learn so much about yourself and about your creator by just getting in. The opportunities are out there, folks. They're knocking on your door every day. They're living with you. Instead of defending that insanity, take it as a challenge and work with that child that has been damned by schools or by politicians or by doctors. That's an opportunity. Fight back. Light the candle. You can curse as long as you're lighting the candle, okay? I'll allow that. We're going to take a break, Mr. Anderson, and then probably get to a 3-minute warning, 5-minute warning. Actually, we need a 45, 55, 65-minute warning right now. I don't see our
warning.
Yeah, I don't see our second guest in here, so we're gonna have to muddle through the second hour. Oh my goodness.
Oh boy. Well, we can do that.
Okay. Yeah. I've enjoyed it so far. I only want to share good things with you, but I can't share them with you if you don't understand what I'm saying. Once you get into the battle, you understand what I'm saying. I attended another meeting this week, Pam Popper's meeting, Make Americans Free Again. She's working against the medical community, the drug community, and a lot of good folks there, and a lot of exchanging of ideas. They meet and then they exchange ideas. You actually talk after the meeting. What have you been doing, et cetera, et cetera. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And by the way, one of the people they had there, maybe we can get that promotion here, not a different promotion, but there is in Delaware County, Ohio, there is a meeting of the minds of all these active folks. and they're doing this and that and the other and this and that and the other. And the lady that put that together gave a promotion at Pam Popper's meeting. And as she's on way out the door, I asked her a question. How many people do you have talking about the family? She was in shock. None. Here's my card.
I have to meet this person.
Yeah. It's just absolutely, folks, the family is the key. You can treat all the symptoms and that's fine, but understand that whatever you're fixing, the family is the foundation you're going to rest it on. And if it's broke, it's cracked. Just like building a house that's full of sand, or if it's oblong or obtuse or it isn't right, it's just not going to work, folks. As goes the family, so goes the nation. As goes the family, so goes the church. That's why the church is having so much problems. But you got it. Which came in that case? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Was the church the one that caused the issues with the family, or the family one that caused the issue with the church, or maybe a little bit of both? Doesn't make any difference. They're there, and those are opportunities. Those aren't problems. Those are opportunities. And you have to look at it that way. And like any kind of thing you're doing, there's going to be hard things to do. And that means that you're going to learn and you're going to grow muscles, mind muscles in this case, that you didn't even know that you had. Let's take a break and get to our 2-minute warning, Mr. Anderson, if you would.
Keeping you informed.
That was a quickie.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what sort of effect this is having on human beings? What is it having? This effect is having on our bodies, and then who the hell is doing this?
It's affecting virtually every living thing. Primary element in climate engineering operations and patents: aluminum nanoparticles. Bioavailable aluminum is toxic to all life forms. Period. No exceptions. We are all sucking this stuff in with every breath we take. Clayton and Natalie, do you remember all the reports of the? And it's ongoing, in fact, the fog and people getting sick in the fog. You guys probably saw that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Extraordinary amounts of fog blanketing 10, 12 states at a time. Again, this is a result of chemical ice nucleation operations as well. Again, we're testing precipitation, so we know that we have aluminum, barium, strontium, manganese, polymer fibers, surfactants, graphene. All of that is in our rain, which means it's in our breathable air column. Those are all climate engineering elements, and Clayton and Natalie with that. And there's so much contamination in the rain, it's changing soil pH values. In our case, in Northern California, and I have the USDA baselines from the 40s. I'm not guessing. Got that from a contact at USDA. So much toxic material is coming down in our rain that it has escalated soil pH values here in Northern California 10 to 12 times toward alkaline. Nothing is growing here. Soils are completely sterilized. There's no decomposition on the forest floor, and we're breathing all that. The only way this stops is when we reach the pitchforks and torches moment, the proverbial pitchforks and torches moment, when people realize they are literally fighting for their lives right here, right now. If we have soils that don't grow food and we have our own personal health that's deteriorating by the day, we're not going to be fighting anything for much longer. Bottom line, this will take everybody sharing credible data from a credible source. Geoengineering Watch strives to be that source. We don't say it if we can't back it up. And the bottom line, people ask why. Again, they ask why over and over. Why would they do this to themselves? Natalie and Clayton, you've heard that question asked probably, right? Why would they do this to themselves?
Yeah. Right.
So on that most important question, we need to consider what, quote, they have done to themselves already. Detonation of 2,400 plus nuclear bombs, which contaminated everything on planet Earth, including they, and they ultimately is those who print the money. That's who's running the whole show. Political stripes are not something that can stop this. I don't care what side of the fence it's on. It's only ramping up again. In the January 21st New Orleans blizzard was evident of that. They're not going to stop these programs. They, the proverbial they, those who print the money, are power addicts. It's like a cancer. Does a cancer intend to kill its host? No. The cancer intends to proliferate unchecked until the host dies. And the stated purpose for these programs, so your listeners know, Natalie and Clayton, this solar radiation management, stratospheric aerosol injection, cloud albedo enhancement. It's important to use the science terms when introducing this issue. The chemtrails term, if people Google that, go straight to conspiracy theory and hoax. That doesn't help our cause. Stick to solid facts. But even though they state this as some sort of benevolent way of cooling the planet, it's doing exactly the opposite. It's destroying the planet's remaining life support systems and contaminating everything in the process. And we know it's being used as a weapon because we see systematic targeting of agricultural regions, flash freeze, flash drought, flash flood. There's no question this is being used as a covert weapon of the controllers.
Wow. I think now we have these people in Washington, D.C. We have President Trump there. We have these other groups there. We have these other individuals who are ready to throw it out. Do you think there's an appetite for them to do it, to really look this in the face?
Well, keep in mind, what we saw the day after January 20th was a radical ramp up, the most aggressive chemical ice nucleation operations we have seen to date in the United States. In fact, so much so that there is international reporting on the fact that for the entire month of January, the most anomalously less warm region in the entire world was the United States of America. These flash freeze cool downs where temperatures can drop 50 and 60 degrees in a day. That's not nature. That's a chemical cool down. These are patented processes. And again, as far as those controlling everything, Clayton and Natalie, those who print the money control militaries, thus they control countries. And that's the bottom line. The last person to actually draw a line in the sand was John F. Kennedy. He didn't live long after that. So again, I think it's important we understand that we are the ones we've been waiting for. Us, all of us. All of us are needed in this battle. All of us are spokes in this wheel and needed and necessary to make it roll. If we're going to bring this issue to light and to a halt, it's going to take all of us. And I did interview with Robert Kennedy. He did a 1-hour interview on me. That's online on geoengineeringwatch.org. So it's up to us, all of us. When we supply information at geoengineeringwatch.org, we are non-political. We don't advertise or sell, and we pass on printed materials for less than our cost of producing and shipping. Our mission, my only mission, to see this insanity in our skies exposed and halted once and for all before there's nothing left of the planet's life support systems or our health.
Dane Wigington, Dane, thank you so much for joining us.
Clayton, thank you. Thank you for your voice in this all-important battle, team effort. If we can push this issue to light, to the full light of day, expose it to the world, we would cause a shockwave around the world. Doesn't mean our problems are over, but it means we would have taken a quantum leap in the right direction. So thank you so much for your help in that endeavor.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
There we go. I was going to say I have to get my eyes checked. Had a caller, but I can't get back to him. Wrong number. By the way, folks, the same message there. Regardless, look, if you see a need, that's your calling. If you see a need, that's your calling. Whether it be the children, whether it be transgender, whatever it is, we need help in all areas. All areas. And the only thing missing is you. If you see a need, that is your calling. By the way, I don't know whether our guest is going to be able to make it in today. We were hoping to get Jake Lang. He's running for the vacant seat created by our newest Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Jake has a little love for the establishment, and that's well earned. And he gets an A for effort.
Like to hear from him.
Yeah, we like that. He's best known for his heroic stand on January 6th in 2021. He has a business background, by the way, which I wasn't aware of. Somewhat like the current president. And he's using this opportunity to redress his grievances in a way others might not want to express. Anyway, I don't see him in there, and hopefully we can have him pop in while we're talking about J-6ers. There are still 3 in prison in gulags. Ed Kelly, Ben Martin, Ed Kelly, Tennessee, Ben Martin, California, and Taylor Taranto, who's in the DC gulag.
Any information why they're still holding them?
Because they can, I guess is the best way to say that. We raised a lot of heaven with Jeremy Brown, and that probably needs to be done there. I'm not seeing anybody that wants to take a look, and I'm busy. Okay, I will take time to help out here, but I cannot initiate this. I've got way too many irons in the fire. But if you want to initiate it, you want to broadcast it, you want help with it, hey, go ahead. Let's do something about this. And caller, if you want to call back, that's fine. Sorry we couldn't get to you. We were doing the middle of a video. We've been talking about what's going on in America today and with the judges. And I mentioned some things that Ben Johnson talked about in his article. And one of the things that he talks about is impeachment. Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution, the authority of the House of Representatives to impeach, of the Senate is to condemn. The judges are in this way amenable to public justice for misconduct upon conviction, removable from office. This happens very seldom, folks. It says here that Hamilton, from the article, believed that threat of impeachment alone would stop bad judicial behavior, perhaps, but what would happen if impeachments became as numerous as they say executive orders? So every time the president issues an executive order, you can expect a judge to rule against him. So for me, I want to build a one-to-one relationship. If that happens, then let's start impeachment proceedings. And I think they've already started 5 of them in Congress. Now, I know that you expressed early, Norm, that you're really crazy about this idea, but talk with me about this. What happens if a judge, because he wants to put an obstacle on Donald Trump's road?
Well, I think, if they can find a reason to impeach him outside of just because we don't like your ruling, I would change my mind on that. But again, I think it's a dangerous precedent to impeach them because you don't like the way they rule. But if you can show, that they're not following the law in what they're doing, then that's another issue.
Well, I hear you, but let me use your words against you. Okay. We talked about court cases, the contraception, 65, gay marriage, et cetera, abortion. I think we would be better off without the court system. And you say?
Well, yeah, so you're probably right.
And that might be rid of it.
Yeah, when we look at what the damage they've done, yeah.
Yeah. So if impeachment creates an environment where, we don't even need a court, bingo, we've accomplished the task. I'm just saying that's typical BJ, light behind every a light behind the rainbow, I guess, if you will. Go ahead.
Well, what I suggest with what's going on right now until something is done, it appears that when a judge rules, it stands until it's overturned by a higher court. And it looks like, the first judge that rules, what he rules stands. So if I was President Trump, I would have some of my allies to sue me over these things in a favorable judge district. So I would get a favorable ruling, and President Trump could provide them with what he's going to do, and they can get their case prepared and get to court quickly and get a ruling from a positive judge.
That's not a bad idea, but what happens when you get another, at the same time, somebody sees what you're doing over there, at the same time they'd file in a friendly court. So we got one court that's already made a decision that's okay, but then you have another court that said, nope, it's not okay.
Well, I haven't seen that. Again, it goes up the line. In other words, I don't see that we've had another. In other words, it's a federal district judge. I don't see that another federal district judge can override that one.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that can override him is as we go up the line in the appeals process.
Okay.
That's what I've seen, but I don't know the law.
Proactive court cases. Favorable. Proactive court. Focus on the Constitution. favorable proactive court cases, focus on natural laws, religion, church, 1-for-1 impeachment, get rid of the judges, and Congress stop funding. So we do have options here.
We do.
We do. Now, will we engage in them? You're going to make somebody mad. I mean, the problem we're having in America today, and one of the biggest problems we have is triggering the politicians with their twin brothers and sisters in the news media. He who controls the information controls the world. They're creating an environment for them, their ideal environment. This is what the ideal environment should look like. You should be able to change a child's sex. Okay? You should be able to be anything you want to be. You can be a cat, you can be a dog, and the government has to support you. Yada, yada, yada. That's what we have. And again, keep in mind, we send our children to government-run indoctrination centers. 12 years we send them there. Some of them, the smart ones, leave early. Join gangs, right? They leave early. But the rest of them stay in because, well, that's what you're supposed to do. We have a good school system. The other school system may be bad, not mine. We have a good school system. As a matter of fact, we need to give them more money, more of my money. You don't have kids in school, but that's okay. You need to pay for it. You don't agree with it. It's tyranny, but you still need to pay for it. But we send these children, these minds of mush, as Rush Limbaugh would say, into these indoctrination centers. And we tell them that they're victims. And then we give them reasons to say why they're victims. We have a school teacher, an ex-school teacher listening to us today. So we got to be careful, Norm, because we may upset him. Okay. But they tell these children that they're victims. But we can help you. Now, we don't need your parents, okay? Your parents actually might disagree with this, so don't worry about that. That's okay. That's okay. Remember what your parents told you? To respect those teachers? Well, that's who we are, so you need to respect us over your parents. And if you don't believe me, check with the news media. Check with politicians. They're all telling you that you need to obey us. Now, it's kind of like what the homosexual community does. They'll find an individual that is confused, and they don't think anybody else understands where they're coming from. Yeah. So you come along and you put your arm around them and say, "Hey, buddy," or "Hey, miss, listen, I get you. I know what's going on here." Yeah. And you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We'll love you. We'll accept you. Come on, be a part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Course,
and go ahead.
Going back, biblically, I mean, the education was squarely on the family.
Yes, sir.
They would be in charge, and and I've been asked, do Christian families have to homeschool? And I personally don't think so. That they're required to homeschool, but they are required to know what's being taught to their kids. And if you can't change it, you're going to have to get your kids out of that school.
Yeah.
So,
JC, hop in here, bud. We need you. Hop in here.
Yeah, JC, help.
Solve this problem for us, will you? You've been in school systems. You know what's going on. You go to school board meetings, right?
Yeah, I've coached in the schools. I was just over at McDonald's this morning, grabbed a couple of them little sausage and cheese muffins. The one kid, I pulled up to give him my money, and the one kid had long hair. He's about 19. Training a new girl, she was like 17. She was struggling to count the change. And I could hear her. I heard her in there. I've just kind of heard her. I figured what she said was, I have a hard time counting change. And he grinned. So I waited. She handed me that change. She finally got it. She handed it to me. He was coaching her a little bit. She handed it out the window to me. And I'm like, oh, I got to comment. And I said, young lady, I said, You struggling to count that change? She said, oh, yeah. And she laughed. I said, you know what the problem is? She goes, no. I said, it's them stupid government schools that they just ran you through. They don't teach you nothing. And the kid behind her, he was shaking his head, yes. I said, the only thing they teach you is that rainbow cult crap. But she just didn't want to say no more. She was done. She was like, oh, I'm done with this guy. And I pulled off and went away. But, you know, you're talking about the family stuff and stuff this morning. I'll pull this up here. You were talking about our senator this morning.
Yes, yes.
Bernie Moreno.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't mention his name, but I will. I like to mention people's names. People say, well, just don't use no names. Yes, use names. I'm sick of that. Well, I won't use any names this morning. I texted him. I said, Bernie. Now, remember, he's a car salesman. Was a car salesman. I said, Bernie, this is Jeff Klein in Mount Vernon at JC's Autos. I always remind him when I text him who I am because he remembers. Your name,
I'm sure people remember you. Go ahead.
Your name just come up on J.R. Harris's podcast about the Natural Family Month that we need to put in place in America. Can you please get in touch with him? So we'll see. We get a message back from Rain for the call.
That's what I'm talking about.
There's that school teacher. Why does he do that?
I love it. But JC, I think what you did is good. As matter of fact, I think what you did is instructive. And don't be afraid to do what JC does, and don't be afraid to do what I do or what Norm does. Look, it's lonely out there, and there's a help wanted sign. Okay, it's got your name on it. It's got your name on it. We need you out there. We really do, and this is for your benefit. You have no idea. First of all, the people you run into now. JC's off now, so I can talk about this. The people you run into are good people, and they're going to teach you, but they're also going to be on your side. They're going to work with you, and that is so encouraging, because you don't want to be out there alone. You know, like those kids, they put the arm around the kids. Look, we know you're all alone. Come on over here. We'll help you. All you got to do is change your sex. I know. There's no problem. No problem. We can do it without your parents knowing about this. Yeah. And we can get a friendly doctor, and he'll tell you that it's okay. And we'll even pay for it. Yeah, and the rest of your life will be nirvana. You have no idea what this is going to do for you. And that is true. They have no idea what it's going to do for them. Right, Norm?
That's right. You know, and of course, these doctors, I think the operation's about $100,000, and they create a patient for life.
Yes, yeah. For the drug companies as well. Yeah.
You know, are involved. You know, always follow the money. You know, follow the money. Didn't the president make it to where they're going to charge these doctors that are doing this? Did I hear that correctly?
There may be talk about it. It's
Okay.
That's going to be awful difficult. Awful difficult. I'm in a very unique situation. I'm in a township, but I'm not really in one city or another. I'm kind of in between 3 or 4 cities. And the two closest to me, the one most close it's a college town. So you can imagine it's about as liberal as it can get. And they're talking about DEI. Let me tell you what happened here. They have there was a private institution where you could go work out, gymnasium type thing. It was in business. So the city bought some land and built their own community center where you could swim, and much better. Yep, much better, because the public was paying for it. So they have this community center. And if you're part of this city's community center, you're part of the city, then you get a spatial discount. So this past Friday, A gentleman by the name of Ahmed Muhammad and two others checked into the facility. They provided false local addresses to obtain discounted residential rates. Muhammad then interrupted a basketball game, causing a dispute, and asked to step aside so they could continue their game. I'll tell you what, Mr. Hanson, let's take a break and I'll continue this after the break, okay? But this is instructional. This is what DEI is doing and how it's affecting not our legal system, especially how it's affecting. We can no longer look at somebody and express a concern, because if you do, you're discriminating. Yeah, you're
Can you identify as a black person?
No,
Why?
because I'm not black.
I'm not a woman, but I can identify as a woman according to you.
If you transition, maybe.
What defines a transition?
If that's your goal, you know?
If you believe it.
Sure.
If you believe you're black, why aren't you black?
Well, that's just not, that's like genetics. That's like ancestry.
You're also born a man or a woman. It's the same thing. That's also genetics.
Okay, I'm over it.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
You can have a lot of fun doing what we're doing, folks. Seriously. When you can confront people with the truth and they are not ready for it. They don't have anything to carry it around in. So like that lady did. Can I call her a lady? I don't know. I hope it's okay if I call her a lady. Actually, I don't really care whether it's I last left you at a city community center where somebody had lied about their place of residence to get a discount, and then come in and interrupted a basketball game. Dispute aside, Muhammad interrupted a basketball game, causing a dispute, and asked to step aside so they can continue the game. Muhammad pulled what witnesses said was a handgun out, telling the players, "I'm not moving. You're going to have to make me move. You can meet me outside. I'll be waiting." Players quickly left the court, with one player immediately going to the front desk to report the presence of a gun. Now listen to this. But staff admonished him, warning that making a false report was a criminal offense. Do you know how upside down this is? You know why they said what they said, right? You can't, especially with a certain demographic, you cannot notice anything wrong, or you'll be accused of a criminal offense. The community staff did not contact the city's police until 3 hours later. And they identified Muhammad as the person who brandished the gun after reviewing the video, BMV records, and public databases linked to phone numbers provided at the check-in. On February 25th, Muhammad voluntarily appeared at a police department with his attorney and mother. During the interview, recorded by police body cameras, he admitted to carrying a BB gun. How many people have been shot by police with a BB gun? Do they know the difference between a 20? They all look alike, right? A BB gun, stating that he displayed it because he felt threatened during the basketball game. Midwest, Ohio City. He was issued a summons for aggravated menacing. Attempted murder. No, aggravated menacing, requiring him to appear in a county court and banned from the community center. There you go. The delayed police notification raises community concerns about local recreational facilities' response to protocols and public safety. So what they're going to do is hire more police. Watch the average citizen more, get more cameras, make you feel more uncomfortable. At a recent City Council budget work session, there was a brief discussion about the Parks and Recreation Department forming a police force to monitor parks, its facilities, and events. The city manager says there has not been any further discussions about parks and the police force. Department Parks has an interim director. So the same city, another problem. In the State of City address was cheerleading the city's readiness for future growth, economic development, and community enhancements. I'll finish that. Go ahead, Mr. Anderson, if you have a comment, or Norm.
Larry Ellison saying, put up more cameras and the people will behave better.
Yeah.
Brave New World.
And then we got AI connected to that.
Yeah.
And they'll have photo ID identification so they know who you are, where you are, what you're about.
How much money you got.
Is that really what you want, folks? Is that really, because that's what you're getting? We can't say anything about somebody because of their demographics. Therefore, we're going to further survey you, maybe by your phone, maybe by those cameras, maybe by something new technology, satellites, zoom down in on you. Yeah. Happening. They can, J6, does that help you at all? J6? Yeah. We need more of that. Here's what we need more of. In the city manager's State of the City address, she was cheerleading the city's readiness for future growth, economic development, and community enhancements, emphasized local demand for skilled workers, noting major economic projects continue, strategic expansion with successful business district, the growth of an 88-acre development supported by a $30 million infrastructure investment. The city consistently maintains a AAA bond rating, reflecting strong financial management. Noting innovative city services will soon feature centralized customer service. Yeah, there you go. Including unified communications. Yeah, there you go. Channels and live chat capabilities. City Hall undergoing its first significant renovations. Updates are also opening to to the city's Parks and Recreation and Open Spaces plan with community engagement opportunities. Residents can participate in an upcoming biennial community survey to influence city service improvements. The city manager assured residents that the city will continue providing accurate information through transparent governance and inclusivity. I'll say that again. She assured providing accurate information through transparent governance and inclusivity, ensuring equitable community development and readiness for future challenges. When I talk to another city manager, the one thing that I emphasize that the city is not emphasizing, nor is this city emphasizing, is family. You're talking about maintaining all these roads, putting in parking meters that you have to use your phone to use now. Yeah. You stand at a kiosk in the middle of nowhere where if, you're vulnerable, you're vulnerable. Nobody around to protect you other than the kiosk. But nothing for the family. What are we doing to assure the growth of the family, the protection of the family? What improvements are we making there in our cities, folks? We're not making any. This is all about big business. It's all about more police. It's all about more monitoring you. It's more about electronic additions, improvements.
Well, going back to that episode at the public gym, And it took over 2-3 hours for the police to
3 hours,
decide
yeah.
that somebody could have been in danger.
Yep.
Talk about mass shootings. That guy would have been able to pull it off and get out of town and maybe out of the state before they even decided it was a real problem.
Yeah, there's a state 3 hours away. Yeah, they can make it. They can make it. This, by the way, is the same city that recently passed SOGI legislation, sexual oriented gender identity, which means that when you interview somebody, you better make darn sure that you've checked that list. Used to work in human resources. I know exactly what that means. If you've got one of those representatives that you're representing as a headhunter, you made money. They're in. Otherwise, there's going to be a problem. They may lose their job. The company may be sued. As well as a law that restrains, this was just passed, that restrains a psychologist from offering alternative forms of therapy for transgender children that are identifying as transgender. You can only agree with the opinion. That's pretty amazing, folks. Don't you think? Not in my own backyard, right? Not going to happen there.
It's happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
It's here. Did you see it was the Northeast somewhere that one hospital was asking the parents of newborns to
what sex?
Yeah, tell them what their sexual orientation was.
Yeah.
Now here's what we're seeing. We're seeing these solutions by people that are absolutely ridiculous. And let me tell you how that has come about. I'm gonna give you a little spiritual lesson here. The Bible is clear that Jesus was our creator. It said all things were created by him and for him. And we also know that Jesus said, I am the truth, the way, and the life. And I really believe, BJ, that we are born with a need for truth. Now, when I deny truth or choose not to learn truth, where a lot of Christians are, there's a spiritual thing that begins to happen. When I deny truth long enough, my next stage is I will become blinded to truth. In other words, I won't be able to see the truth. Even it's right there, and a lot of people can see it. I cannot see it because I've been denying truth all this time. The next stage is I will begin to fight against truth. And the next stage is I will develop a reprobate or a debased mind. And what that means is, spiritually, is I lose the ability to make a good decision. I just can't, I don't have that ability anymore because I've lost it because, again, I started denying truth. I began to fight against truth. And then I can't, I'm going to not be able to make a good decision. And that's how it's come about. So again, we're back to this thing that you keep harping on, BJ, about the family. And, because again, the family is where it starts, and weak families produce weak churches, and weak churches produce corrupt governments. That's where we are. So go ahead.
Think about everything that's, I think we're about ready for a break. Mr. Anderson, go ahead and take us to break, and then I'll get into think about the one institution that has been weakened by all these laws that are happening and all these movements that are happening. The one institution that is at the bullseye of all this. When we come back, B.J. Edwards along Mr. Anderson. This is your last call.
Like a person who's born a woman and then identifies as a man and is pregnant.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that in order to be a moral person, I need to accept the idea that a man, someone who is born a man and looks like a man, can really become a woman. That's a prerequisite of my being a moral person.
I mean, yes. To me, it is, because if you are trying to deny someone of their identity and deny what their life experience is, then that doesn't seem like a moral stance to me. I want to be accepting, and I want to respect people's life experiences and respect the way that they want to identify and respect the way that they want to present themselves to the world.
Bronte, I would like to identify, I do identify actually, as the correct person on this issue of abortion. I identify as being correct and more correct than you on this issue. And I would just ask that you accept and affirm my identity. Do you?
Well, you are not a medical professional, and abortion and pregnancy
No, I'm
is
just
a
talking about my
medical
identity.
concern. That's not your identity.
That is my, I promise you, that's my identity.
They argue that denying transgender individuals, particularly youth, the opportunity to transition can result in severe mental health challenges, including increased rates of depression and suicide.
Thank you for your testimony. The chair now recognizes Dr. Gross.
If you take anything from this program today as a tool, take that last short video, because what it is saying is when we're opposing somebody, we'll allow them grace and say, well, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. And then you say, but you know what? I also have a right to think that I'm right. You have a right to think you're right, right? Don't I have a right to think I'm right? As a matter of fact, I have a right to think that I'm righter than you. Huh? I mean, try that. Try that. And you, whatever you're into, if abortion, okay? I believe that it's a woman's right to do so, to kill a baby, okay? Well, I don't believe it's a right to do so. And I think that my belief is stronger than your belief. So therefore, you're wrong and I'm right. Because that's what they're telling us, isn't it? You're wrong. And you're going, whoa, wait, hold on. No. I'm right in what I identify as, what I believe in, because I believe in that. And because I'm me and you're you, I trump what you're thinking. I trump what you're identifying as, because I identify as this. So just think about the beauty of that kind of an approach. Please get that video and watch and listen, learn from it. It's okay to identify as what you are. It's okay to identify as a Christian. That's okay. Because you say it's okay. That's all it takes. I believe I'm right, therefore I'm right. That's where we are in society today. We've taken it all the way down to the micro level. Me. Right? If I believe it, then it's so. But wait a minute, I believe that. No, sorry. I believe that I'm more right than you are. Because I'm me. And because I'm me, you have to respect that. Isn't that what we're hearing? So back at them, mirror what they're saying and how they're saying it. They're teaching us. We've seen what they're doing. We've seen their play. It's a great play. Use it. Amazing. Right, guys? Yeah. Go ahead, JC.
Next Saturday, I'm going to identify as a Natural Family Foundation representative. We just putting this together. Next Saturday on the public square, I probably got about 60 yard signs for natural family. So we got them out last year and put them around the square. Oh, and that's right. I'm not supposed to stake anything on the square because of the water lines, but somebody said,
wait, hold it. You're not identifying as staking, okay?
Yeah. Well, we've already staked the square. So we staked the yard signs in the ground up there. Somebody told me last summer, they said, you can't put them in this public square because they said there's water lines running there. I said, oh, I know right where the water lines are. We're good. And I'm sticking them in the ground. This guy was shaking his head. So what I'm going to do is next Saturday, it's going to be 70 degrees. It's going to be a nice day. 20, 25, or 30 of them crazy Democrats show up on the public square. They've been coming out now because they hate Elon Musk. So I got a speaker coming in. I'll set up the PA system, and we're going to be there at 1 to 3 on Saturday on the public square. And so the topic will be the natural family. So we'll address them and just tell them, if you would just join in with this natural family thing, you wouldn't have gay thoughts. You wouldn't have suicidal thoughts. You wouldn't have all these problems you have in life if you just hook in with the natural family, one biological man, one biological woman. I'll give them your little spiel. But guess who my speaker is going to be on the public square?
I'm afraid to ask.
Don't be afraid. It says don't live in fear in the Bible over 360 times.
Oh, all right. Rub it in.
David Arthur.
Oh, dear God.
They are going to love it. They are just going to have a cow. So I'm just turning the microphone over to him. But there's a prime example. He had no family growing up. And there's how he turned out. Yeah. So he's going to share on the square at 1 o'clock next Saturday. And then he'll be in the garage Tuesday night here. So it'll be a good couple days here in Mount Vernon. The haters will come out.
Yeah. Well, no, they're confused. They're not haters. They're just confused, Jeff. And you need to educate them and let them know that you're right and they're wrong. And when they say, well, how do you know that? It's because I identify as being righter than you. That's all.
Well, being confused makes them hateful. Just get angry.
Yeah. It's change is threatening. Norm, any comments? You're unmuted.
Sure. When I went through counseling training back in the 80s, where I went, they only took 6. They called them interns. And I was about 37 years old at that time. Been a while. And one of the young fellas, he was about 21, and he had been a homosexual. And I never will forget what he said. He said, I just wanted to be held.
Yes.
Yes. And of course, we're back to the family and back to the parents. God has put this need for love in us. I've said a million times, it's the most powerful force in the universe. It's what drives all behavior. And when we break that love need down, we have a need to be important, significant. We need to be accepted, and we need to have a sense of belonging to fit in. And when that's not met, actually, the next stage that happens is it's hurtful to kids when that love need is not met. And then that hurt turns to anger. And then that anger surfaces itself in a lot of different ways. Yeah, but at the same time, they're constantly searching for something to fill that love need within them. And they're vulnerable to anything. And like you've talked about, somebody comes along and say, oh, we accept you, come on and join us. And they'll do it. And so we're back to the family, and the family's gotten so busy with materialism and letting everybody else train their kids and not providing that love need that they need. And that's the problems that's created. So, while we get really upset and aggravated at these people, I think God sees them kind of pitiful in a way.
Yeah. Freud said something about rejection being the highest level of abuse or something to that effect.
Well, it is, yeah, and rejection takes a lot of forms. One form that we see the most of is just the absence of meaningful love. It's not that most parents don't love their kids, but they don't love them in a meaningful way. and they
Amen.
put so many of their kids on a performance-based acceptance. And I'll tell you a quick story. Somebody that I was very close to, they had a child, and they were trying to be the best parents in the world. They read all the books, all the on how to be the best parents in the world, and my wife went to see them when this young person was about 2 years old, and they were playing. They were sitting in the floor tossing like a little Nerf ball back and forth to one another, and this young fella missed catching the ball. And my wife said, "I've never seen such fear on a kid's face." And the kid's mom looked at my wife and said, "What in the world have we done?" And they had raw that kid so much on the things that he did well. He had learned that his acceptance came from his performance. And that's what we can do to kids. We train them to be, if you perform, you're loved and accepted. And, we see this, if kids get good grades, they feel that's where they're trying to get their love and acceptance, but there's a hole within them. Again, they don't feel loved. They feel like they're loved if they perform. And so that's what makes kids turn into performers. In other words, good athletes, smart, whatever. And then on the other end, people will become very recluse. They'll withdraw because they have no confidence in themselves. So they won't even try things. You've seen the kid that, when you choose up to play baseball or something, they don't want to play. They want to go home. And that's not what they want. They don't want to be rejected. And this thing of rejection is very, very powerful, and it's done tremendous damage to our kids.
Amen. Amen. I was writing down as you're talking. We're going to take a break here shortly, Mr. Anderson. We'll bring Betty in. As you're talking, I'm going, okay, as a human being, boom, you're here. And then the first question, whether you know you're asking or not, I know you're a baby, but still the same rules apply. I'm here. Am I in the right place?
Well, they start asking questions even before they can talk,
Yes.
because they're trying to learn about themselves, and they're maybe they haven't even learned to walk yet, but they're kind of holding on to the coffee table, kind of wobbling around, looking at you and grinning. What do you think of me? How am I doing? Am I loved? Am I accepted? And then when mom or dad, turns away, dad says, "Oh, not now. I'm watching my ball game, or I'm reading my book, or reading the newspaper." The kid is learning about themselves from the reaction that they get from the people around them. And so they're constantly again, looking for that approval.
Amen. Hey, folks, you're listening to Last Call. And BJ Edwards and Norm Davis and folks, we're not really world famous, although I personally am the head of an organization that if you don't accept what I'm saying, you're going nowhere. Seriously. So Natural Family Foundation, yeah. As goes the family, so goes the nation.
Amen.
And if you don't understand that, and we're not an educational, we're a do operation. And most of the family organizations are educational. And that's okay. But what are you going to do with that education? You got it all packed up and all luggage there, and you got it packed up. And where are you going to put it? What kind of a vehicle are you going to put that in that's going to drive you to where you need to get to? We have that vehicle. We have that tank that's going to get you from point A to point B. I can tell you, just the Natural Family Month is a powerful tool. I didn't say the W word. It's a tool. And it's a transportation device that can get you from point A to point B, but you got to get in to the device, folks. You've got to understand that you need it. Yeah, go ahead and prove me wrong. You can't. History, psychologist, everything you know, even your common sense backs what I'm saying. Let's take a break, Mr. Anderson, before I further embarrass myself.
Of good courage, be not afraid and be not dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with you everywhere you go. Every place you put your foot, it's yours, baby, as an inheritance.
We are meant to have the fire from heaven upon us. We will blaze with your glory, Lord.
We are to be the light in the darkness. We are to be the head, never again the tail. We are to push forward and win what God wants us to win.
When we get filled with the Holy Spirit, okay, we change, okay, and we become the righteousness of God through Christ.
We are to look at the passage in light of the whole of God's Word. Scripture interprets Scripture.
You are the living body of Christ on this earth if you're part of His church.
We were made for a time such as this. I mean, when I look back at our history and what gifts God gave me and all the things that He lined up ahead of time, I mean, how can you turn it down?
All of us are called. Everybody is getting a phone call. Ring! God on the line.
The Wisconsin Christian News Ministry Conference, April 4th and 5th. With music ministry led by national recording artist Leighton Howerton.
Come on home.
Come home to God at the Wisconsin Christian News Ministry Conference. The conference will be held at the Hilton Garden Inn Hotel and Convention Center, 151401 County Road, NN, Wausau, Wisconsin. Purchase your tickets today at CoachDaveLive.com/events. That's CoachDaveLive.com/events. You can also call 715-486-8066 for more information. See you at the conference. God bless you.
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
I won't be at that conference, but we do have a booth there and representatives there. And I highly recommend that conference. Folks, I'm going to bring Betty on. I'm begging you to help children and your family. I'm begging you to do that. I'm begging you to see the importance of doing that, to start participating in that. I'm challenging you. I'm challenging you to get into the game. Your family needs it. Your children need it. Your grandchildren need it. Your nieces, your nephews. They need you, and they need you now. Betty, how you doing?
I'm fine. Oh, man, great show.
Thank you.
You and Norm and Jeff, oh, you're nailing it, you know. I'm so thankful that my mom taught me love, hugs, Jesus the first 8 years of my life. And she instilled all those seeds. Because when I was put in that foster home, there was no hugs, no I love yous, no compliments, just condemnation, all lies, you know. So parents need to take that extra little time of hugging their children, because I was a bus driver for 20 years, and you can tell the children that were neglected and abused, and all they wanted was this little hug to say, I love you, I'm here for you. Wow. You know, if you have an issue, please talk to me, you know, and you wouldn't believe how many kids would talk to me instead of their parents because their parents were too busy for them. So I was the mama for 8 little ones at 13 when I was in that foster home. And, you know, when they had an issue, when they got hurt, when they did this, did that, they'd come running to me. I was their mother, you know. And, you know, most of those kids have turned out, they were destroyed because they had no love from the parents. It was a fatherless home, even though there was a father. He was very abusive. But all they needed to do was to hug these kids and love them and just let them know that they were there for them, you know. So I tried to be a mom, but I was also a child being a mom. So it was tough. So a couple of them have turned out exceptionally well. They're great parents and they love the Lord, number one. If you have Jesus in your life, number one, and you're born again, things will go right.
If
is a big word.
Yeah. When you're a child, you have that inherent need for that hug. Them before us, Katie Faust, them before us, please get to that site. Them before us, and look at the information that they have. It's incredible information. And some of the things you're going to learn is that children need, I'm going to say must have. She'll say have a right, a natural right, which I agree with all that, to their biological mother and father. When you remove one or the other, or both, remember the question I said, you know, I'm here, should I be? If your parents leave you, or one of your parents leaves you, what does that say about you, who know very little about life? They left, probably my fault. I did something wrong, or I don't qualify to be loved. And we're all born with that need for love, folks. But when you remove one of those biological parents, I was thinking the other day about, wow, we have children that are being born to two fathers or two mothers. Not only in most cases, they're not their biological parents, but they're confusing. Yet they desperately want love so bad that they will say that they love them, and they will know that they love them, but that isn't the love that they really need. That's not the fulfilling love that they need. What's going to happen to those children? And we already see and hear some of it from testimonies of folks that are brought up in homes like that. Yeah, they admit that they love them, but one thing's missing. I need the love of my mother, or I need the love of my father.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, please.
Each parent in the morning, they're starting their kids' day off. They need to take the time to say, I love you. And when you hug them, make it a worthwhile hug, not this hug, boom, and gone. Hug them and let them know that you're there for them. That little hug compared to that little 5-second hug, that's a little longer and more meaningful, will start their day off right.
Amen. That goes through all of life with your children, folks. My daughter gives me an incredible hug every time I see her. And
my son does too. My son does too, and now he's doing it. You pass it on to generation.
Yes,
because his daughter is a hugger.
Yeah, as is mine. And if I try to leave without a hug, if I do that, I'm going, oh my goodness, I feel guilty. I feel guilty because just the hugs you're getting are incredible. You know, boy, it's good stuff. That's all I can say. It's good stuff.
And like when I hugged my son, I'd give him a little squeeze, just a little squeeze to know that I am there. And I do it to his granddaughters, and now she does it back.
Yeah, my little granddaughter's learning that as well. That's incredible. But think about the people that don't have that. How good that feels. But the people that don't have that, doesn't make any difference whether you're male or female.
Yeah, let me share a sad story with you. Many years ago in Russia, there was an orphanage that had about 750 kids in it. And they decided to do an experiment. And they divided the kids up as equal as they could. And one group, they tried to make life normal for them. They loved them, hugged them, as we're talking about, and provided for them. The other group, there was no love whatsoever, no physical touch, none of that. They all lived in the same environment, ate the same food, cooked in the same kitchen. The one group turned out pretty good. Of the other group, the mortality rate was pretty high. Several of the kids died. There was a lot of sickness. Some were described as idiots, and some of them went on to be in the KBG in Russia that could kill and torture people, and without any thought, without any conscience. And I mean, that's so sad, but that's just that's the importance of the love. Can't get away from it.
Yeah, and you do anything to try to fill that gap.
You bet.
Drugs.
As I said, it's the most powerful force in the universe. This draw for this need for love. Yeah.
Yep. Also, the need not to be rejected, because they're both kind of tied in together. One negates the other one. Yeah, one negates the other one. I can't remember another video I was watching. It was about children that were brought up without parents, and they were in orphanages, but they just died. They all died. All of them died. But one orphanage, the death rate was 50% less, and they couldn't understand why. And they found out that the lady that was running this orphanage would every now and then take a child and put them on the side and carry that child around. Maybe half an hour or so. And because of that attention, just that little bit of attention, it reduced the death rate by 50%.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm going to get back on the subject of child abuse. We're very proficient here in America when it comes to that, and we need to fix that. We need to look at it as child abuse in its different forms.
I was just going to say that, JR, that parents, if they're not hugging or kissing their child, they're abusing their child. And that child's going to turn out just like them, an abuser.
Yeah.
Amen.
And it's just as bad within the church too.
Yes. There is I won't say an affection, but there is a need for what it has to offer, an inherent need, if you will. I want to really thank everybody for participating today. I don't know what happened to our two guests. It is what it is, but I think this was a good program today. I will stand on the family. I will stand on the natural family concept. We have to get back to that. We have to. And again, I identify as the natural family being the ultimate when it comes to talking about a family. Maybe you could call it a best practice, huh? Okay, let's call it a best practice. I believe it to be a best practice. And you're gonna play heck trying to convince me otherwise. Have a good weekend. Get those NCAA parents together. I got a message from my son-in-law while I'm on the air today, and he's saying everybody's close. Man, they must be terrible, because if I'm close at the top, nobody knows anything about the NCAA basketball. Mr. Anderson, take us out of here. BJ.
Join us next week for Last Call with BJ Edward.